volunteers. So volunteers have made such a great difference here and making this event so smooth. So thank you to all the volunteers, and thank you to Bob for asking me to be here. My name is Pat Dowling. I work for the Erie County Department of Senior Services, which is our office for the aging, or our AAA in Erie County. It sponsors our RSVP program, and if you haven't heard of RSVP, but I'm guessing most of you have, it's a national service program. I would same federal funder as the AmeriCorps program, as foster grandparents, as a VISTA program. It started in 1971, and it's chiefly to engage people over 55 in opportunities, volunteer opportunities that match their skills and interests. So when I started this program, it actually came out of our quest to find people 55 and over who were active and might be interested in volunteering. So, kind of targeting our recruitment, we thought, well, where do we find people over 55? And coming in 13 years ago, I thought, well, we'll go to the senior centers. And the senior centers in Erie County, some we could find those 55 and over people there, and some we couldn't. So I call this Beyond Bagel. So seeing the senior center is something, is a way to be a site for lifelong learning. So as so many people in this conference have talked about, the boomers are coming. I'm a boomer. My parents go to a senior center. My mother is frail, she has Parkinson's. She goes to a senior center. That's a good place to have lunch. They play pinochle. My friends who are boomers, a lot of them, I ask, will you go to the senior center when you retire? And it's just not in their plans right now. And the things we know about boomers, as many people have said, boomers are very interested in wellness. They want to stay young. Boomers have always been, wanting to stay active and stay young. Boomers like options, and we find this in RSVP. When I first came, and I would go to, say, the VA, we had volunteers there who would be celebrating their 30th year as a VA volunteer. They'd come every Wednesday afternoon. They were at the information desk, and this is what they did. The volunteers, the boomer volunteers, are very different from that. We went to a conference one, and somebody said, all those certificates you have for 10 years of volunteering, 20 years of volunteering, 30 years, you throw out all those certificates, because the boomers like to move around. They like to do things, they find something, they like to do it for maybe a couple of years. We found out that they like the one-time opportunities. We have the Chicken Wing Festival in Buffalo. It's a fundraiser for Meals on Wheels and Alzheimer's. Two things people know about Buffalo. One is that we have snow, the other one is that we have chicken wings. We really have a lot of other things too. We have great Frank Lake Writer architecture there. So boomers like options. And our volunteers, we've started an email blast every couple times a week, and we tell them about one-time opportunities. So when the Wing Fest comes up, we say we need people to sell tickets, we need people to paint kids' faces and things like that, and those things fill right up. It's harder to find someone to be a mentor because it means you have to make a commitment once a week for a full year. It's a harder sell for a boomer. They'll say to us, I just got done working for 35 years. I want to be able to schedule what I want. So boomers are also very interested in civic engagement, but they want to do civic engagement the way they want to do it. So they want to make a difference. If they volunteer, they want to feel like their time is being very well used in a way that is, real productive, and they'll feel satisfied. So their civic engagement, they're not going to just say, yeah, I'll file or I'll make copies. They want to be the one painting the side of a house that otherwise would have been torn down, or planting a bunch of trees and things like that. And they like fun. They like personal enrichment. They like to meet new people, learn interesting things, and have a good time. Like I said, it's not better or worse than the generation before, that greatest generation. It's just different. So we started University Express, which is a partnership, and I'll talk about some of the partners, but it's a way to bring this lifelong learning, these classes, out to senior centers. It's for people over 55. So at this point, one of the things we've kind of safeguarded is that all classes are free. And we'll talk a little bit, we talked about, should we charge for these, should we not charge for these? At this point, all of our classes are free. Our instructors are volunteers. We do offer an honorarium, a small honorarium, could be a gift card, $25 or something like that. But our instructors, especially if they're over 55, come under RSVP. So if I have a retired chemistry faculty or something like that, I will sign them up under RSVP. This is the volunteer opportunity that they're doing. That also gives them some additional insurance cover. So when they're doing their volunteer thing, they're actually covered under RSVP's liability insurance. We offer it at the senior centers. A lot of our colleges, we have a lot of colleges in Erie County, from the University of Buffalo down to several four-year Buffalo State College, out of the SUNY system. We have a lot of Catholic colleges, and we have our community colleges. So we have a lot of higher education. And some of them offer the free audit, but some seniors like that, and some don't. The parking is lousy at most of the colleges. It's very, difficult. And not every older adult wants to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 10:30 and learning a curriculum that is mostly either a career prep or research or something like that. They want to learn for the joy of learning. And when we chose our partners, and they're mostly senior centers, we said you have to have this open set. All Erie County residents 55 and over, they don't have to be a member of your center. So just like the congregate meal program, if you're over 55, you're allowed to come to that program. We also have people who come under 55. People ask that. I'm only 52. I can't wait to come to your classes. And I always tell them, I don't park at the door. I've never thrown out anybody who's not 55. I did have one guy who brought his homeschooled grandson to a Civil War class, and it was kind of neat. But most of our people are 55 and over, but we do find that we are definitely attracting the 60 to 70-year-old and even less. A lot of people who come to University Express classes say, I've never set foot inside a senior center before. This is the first time ever. And we had a group of college students come to do a marketing plan for us. It was their project, and they came in and they said, well, where do the people live here? Because they thought senior centers were nursing homes. So, people have a lot of stereotypes out there. This was one of our very first classes ever. This was at the Orchard Park Senior Center, which is a suburban center, and the instructor. Oh, sorry. Let's see, what do we got? Anybody want? Slideshow at the top. Yeah, I was wondering how, what do I use? I think Bob's got you. Oh, well.
Don't
worry about it. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
I can see that. Use your clicker to go to far right down at the very bottom by the 75%.
Where's this thing?
Yeah, and no.
And it's frustrating.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Actually, there's one on that top. From current.
Oh, what do you want to see?
Yeah, you cancel.
Oh.
There we go. Well, we'll catch up. So anyways, the instructor, I put a little ad in, we call them penny savers. I don't know if you call them penny savers, they're like community newspapers. papers, and they give little free press releases. And I said, you know, we're looking for volunteer instructors to teach classes for seniors. And a lady responded who was trained by the National Geographic Society. She was a master teacher under National Geographic. So anyways, Judy Biggeroff, who again, came out of Buffalo State College and trained by National Geographic, she said, I'd like to do one on maps. Maps. And I didn't know how to go over it, but people loved it. You know, she was talking about latitude, longitude, and all that. And so it was a 1-hour class, and she also was an expert in many other things and had colleagues at Buffalo State, including a gentleman who was very well versed in the Arctic. So he did a class for us then, and that's kind of how our recruitment has gone. We find a great teacher, and they say, I had a wonderful experience. I have some colleagues who would love to do this. So we're different. We're not replicating what our community ed is. A lot of the school districts in Erie County run community ed, but the community ed around us tends to be kind of non-academic. So, for example, I play badminton through our community ed program. We have things, a lot of computer classes, things about angels and all kinds of things like that, exercise, self-help, you know, what do you do with your taxes or things like that. But our classes, I tell them I like the topics to be something that you might find in a college catalog, like a one-time lecture that might be part of a college class. So the most popular by far topic we have is anything on local history. So as I said, Frank Lloyd Wright, great architect. We have a number of his masterpieces in Buffalo. So last semester we ran a thing on Frank Lloyd Wright's social philosophy, and it filled right up. Anything on Mark Twain's years in Buffalo. We have, let's see, other things, just the War of 1812, Buffalo is a part of that. So when we have classes, our most popular class ever was on the mafia in Buffalo. Lee Capola, who was an investigative reporter back in the 70s on Channel 7, he then became a DA, but he was very involved in finding out stuff about what the mafia was doing, and then he became dean of the School of Journalism at St. Bonaventure. So he just retired. So I asked him, would you come and talk about the future of media? He said, no, what I'd really rather do is talk about the Buffalo Mafia. So we had 80 people signed up at the Clarence Senior Center, and 175 showed up. So they were, you know, just scurrying for chairs. And I said, boy, you're really a popular instructor. He goes, no, it's not me. He goes, it's anything about the mafia. He goes, look at the Sopranos. So history is very, you know, especially local, but not just local. The second largest class we had was on the Depression. And I came to the Orchard Park Senior Center, and the parking lot was full, and there was cars all over. And I walked in with the instructor, and he goes, boy, they must have some, you know, event going on here. We walked in the room, and it was full. And I said, Jerry, you're the event, you know, because the people had lived through the Depression, and they understood. The most, like, emotional class, we had the same instructor was on Vietnam, because he had never really spoken publicly or even to his family about Vietnam, and he decided it was Veterans Day. So we had an audience with many Vietnam vets in it, and Jerry, and that was just, it was an incredibly moving class, you know, for them all to talk about it. We've done science. There, you know, I always wondered, you know, math and science, how would it go over? And people really enjoy it. We had a class on stem cells. We had a class on DNA. We had some anatomy classes. Then lately we've added a sponsor an orthopedic surgery group, and so they bring their surgeons in to talk about, you know, hip problems and knee problems, not selling it, but really talking about the anatomy and the therapies of it. We had classes on economics. The first class we had this semester, team of financial analysts, and I told them you're not allowed to sell, you're not here to get clients, but they talked about bubbles, booms, and busts. So what great timing with the China currency that just went on, the stock market going up and down. First time ever, almost all of our audience members were men. And they were men who closely followed the stock market. I said, I feel like I'm inside of a CNBC show because the dialogue going back and forth, they were incredibly knowledgeable. And I think the financial analysts up there were really on their toes. World events. We go beyond, what's going on in the news. I think that's really an important part of why we do this, is because people watch the news, but they want to know more. They want to be informed citizens. So they want to understand what's going on in the Middle East. We have a gentleman who is in Asian studies. He's from Pakistan, so he just did one for us on Shia Sunni. So people could understand, what is a Shia Muslim? What is the Sunni Muslim, and why is there, this thing going on, and, what's going on between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And then literature. We have a group of people who, we have two great literature teachers, but they've done Hemingway, they've done James Joyce, and Steinbeck, and it's just a lot of fun. They're going to take To Kill a Mockingbird on, because the sequel just came on. Some people have feelings about what that sequel is all about, so that should be interesting. So, as I said, we don't card at the door, and we do tell our centers when they agree to be a host that it's not just for members, and they don't charge. We have a great diversity. If you look at the gentleman on the cover, and we used to. If you see the black and white one, that's what we did before we had sponsors, and now we have sponsors, so Blue Cross Blue Shield puts out this pretty slick program. But the gentleman on the cover, Dr. Shed, he's 93, and he just got back from snorkeling in Key Largo. So we have people who are in their 90s, and then Shirley Bowen, who's standing next to him, is a younger senior. She's in her 60s. So we have a great diversity of age. We have a diversity of education level. When at Orchard Park, which was one of our first sites, and we had scheduled the 2 classes, we had a professor of geology and we had Ginny. And one of her members said to her, I don't know if I'm smart enough to come to these classes because I never went to college. And Anna said, you've lived a long time, you stay informed, this is your opportunity. And a lot of, I think the women in particular who had never gone to school but wished maybe they had, they can say to their grandchildren now, I take taking college level classes. I think they're very proud, and I think they're very, it builds up their confidence to know they can make a comment, give feedback, ask a question, and have the instructor say, that's a great question. The knowledge of the subject. We had people come in who almost knew more about the subject than the instructor. We've had some, when Jim Banco did the Hemingway one of the gentlemen raised his hand and said, I met Hemingway in Paris during the war. When one of our professors did a thing on the Peace Bridge is the bridge that goes over the river into Canada from Buffalo, and one of the participants said, yeah, I was there at the opening, when it opened up many years ago. She was there with her dad. She was little. Different reasons for attending classes, and we do have some special needs in the classes. We might have people who are hearing impaired, visually impaired. So, what do the different people do to make this program work? And this is a very, very cost-effective program. It really doesn't cost very much. The main thing it takes is finding the great instructors, which is my job through RSVP. So I'm there to recruit, to say what topics are our learners going to want to learn about. So I pay attention to what's on NPR, what's Marie Zakaria talking about in terms of the current events. I pay attention to, what's going on in the city of Buffalo. We just had a thing on Common Core. Common Core is the, you know, education curriculum and standards that are coming in. It's a very hot, controversial topic. It was very difficult to find someone who was objective and who wasn't going to come down on one side or the other. So I was expecting pickets to be outside the door of the class, but luckily hydrofracking is another one. Hydrofracking is a big controversial thing in New York State. So we recruited a geology professor from the University of Buffalo to talk about it. And same thing, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to have the police here. But people had a good civil discussion about it. Erie County Department of Senior Services is our sponsor for RSVP, so I do this kind of under their sanction. And I always, when I introduce a class, I always say, this is brought to you by the Erie County Department of Senior Services. The senior centers make a huge, huge difference, and it's so important to find a senior center that is going to be your champion, your hospitality provider. We wanted to find senior centers that were accessible throughout Erie County, and we wanted to find ones that had good class. This is a fantastic type of classroom setting. We went to one senior center where it was just one big room. So the pinochle players were outside, so we just had a curtain between us and the pinochle players. They were unhappy, you know, our participants were unhappy, so you need a place that's quiet. You need a place that you can show a PowerPoint, because most of our instructors are going to bring a PowerPoint. You need good acoustics, comfortable seating. One of our sites, the Amherst Senior Center, unfortunately has 2 pillars in the middle of the room, so the sight lines can be kind of bad. But the most important thing at the senior center is who is either the director or the programmer, because they're your cheerleader. They're the person that'll say, it's really good for you to attend this class. This class is going to be exciting. You want to try this class. You know, you want to learn about whatever it is that we're learning. And they also have to report on how many people are signed up. We ask people to pre-register so we can let the instructors know. And they have to set up the equipment for us. The volunteer instructors, the other essential piece of it. You have to find someone who's not only knowledgeable about that subject, because our audience will know right away that they don't know enough about it. They want to know that you have an expert who can answer their questions. And they have to be engaging. They have to be able to, you know, get people interested in the subject. They can't be reading from something. And the adult learners. Like I said, we have great audiences. Our instructors many times have told us that our audiences are the best that they've ever had, because they know they teach 18 to 25-year-olds most of the time. And they said, you know, the people here, the one instructor said, I was scared when I was coming in here because I knew people would be listening and, you know, they would ask questions and they would challenge. And they're not just taking notes, believing everything I say, or looking at their phone, you know, and texting their friends. So how do you do this? So if you wanted to start a University Express program, and it's very doable to do, and it's very worthwhile doing. Then start small, and just find out from your seniors, find out from other people who are great speakers. Get a couple topics in your head, and think, who in the audience? And when I invite someone, I email them or I call them, when I find out about what's that particular instructor's specific area of interest. So if I ask them, well, can you talk about something about the Middle East? So I'll Google them and I'll find out their area of research interest is whatever, the Muslims in Turkey or whatever. And I think if you email someone and say, I'd really like you to talk about this topic, and I think the seniors would like to hear about this because of this. And then you put together for the class the title, the description, usually a 2-sentence description, and you have to make it seem exciting, give a good title. Someone has to do the class registration. We've decided that it's easiest for the participants to call the site directly. So the sites take the phone calls, and if you look in the newest one, you'll see, call Amherst Senior Center at whatever, because then they keep the enrollment. And the sites also get the phone numbers of the participants as they call in. Because sometimes you get a crazy weather event, like we had Snowvember. We had 7 foot of snow last November 17th, so people couldn't get through to present. So, get the phone numbers, because people don't like if they drive their classes canceled. Classroom setup, you want to have it, like I said, with sight lines, enough chairs set up, comfortable, and you want to have your screen and a place for the professor to put their flash drive in. You have a class evaluation. I gave you just ours. We use a pretty simple evaluation. And the participants are very honest. They'll say if they think somebody was no good, that they were dry, that they were unprepared, that they wandered. And then on the back, I asked them to put what other topics do you want to hear, or do you have any other recommendations for speakers? Then you see, I also asked them for their email address or their mailing address. And that's how I built my own mailing list for them. So I have a lot of people who get this by email. I give them a weekly reminder coming up next week in University Express. I'll give them the titles and the sites and the times. And then they also get the full schedule mailed to them at the beginning of spring and beginning of fall. But then Blue Cross does the regular snail mail too. A volunteer instructor recognition, we give a $25 honorarium and also a thank you. And make it specific, not a form letter. Thank you, because this was really exciting. What you talked about, you said this, the seniors really like that, and this is what we learned. And then marketing. I'm very lucky in that my 2 sponsors have done a lot for me now with marketing. They've organized TV spots and things like that. But at the beginning, when we had no money, and I mean we had 0 money, we started this and ran it for 8 years with 0 money. And it was just kind of, I drove things out to libraries and senior centers. We made those copies off of the copying machine. It's just a matter of building up and finding your audiences. Libraries are great, though. They'll put them up at their branches, and people who go to libraries tend to like fun learning. So, as I said, the first step, connect with instructors who connect with older adults. Just tell you a story about the gentleman there with the gray vest. His name is Walter Simpson. He was the energy czar at University of Buffalo. So he was the one who made University of Buffalo energy efficient. A very big climate change advocate. So he came and did one. One of the places we find the topics is from a program called Great Decisions. It's run by the Foreign Policy Association. We get a lot of our speakers and a lot of the topics off of the Great Decisions series. They're all very current and just really exciting topics. But he did one on climate change. So it was the Thursday before the Columbus Day weekend. It was Thursday at 3 o'clock. And as I was coming home, and he had said, it's not global warming, it's global weirding. We had this humongous snowstorm that stayed on all the leaves of the trees, and we lost tons of trees because all the branches broke off. And I thought, all right, Walter, you were right. It is global weirding because we had this snowstorm in October. But it's like, how much more timely do you want than that? This crazy snowstorm in October, right after our climate change. So this is, you want to find instructors. This gentleman, not a PhD in history, he was a security guard at University of Buffalo. He did have a bachelor's in history, but was a collector of Civil War art and went to all the Civil War sites, loved the Civil War, and he was one of our great history instructors. And from there, he kind of developed a following in a group, and he's kind of made the circuit now, and he goes and does Civil War things all over the place. So we call them professors, kind of, they don't have to be professors. They could just have expertise. So we find our instructors all over. We used to do little press releases. Now, a lot of times our instructors refer each other, or I just Google. I think of a topic I want to get, I put in that topic, I put Buffalo, New York, and I find out who does it. You know, and because we have a university, we have a lot of resources at our back end, and they've been great. Emeritus centers. So we have an emeritus center at the university, the retired faculty. They've been very helpful. People, the participants referring. A lot of times in your paper, you probably have community lectures. Go to them, see if it's a great teacher. And unexpected places. I've been in grocery store lines and just talking with people, and it's like, oh, you're really excited about that. You're an expert in that. Would you teach for university as well? And then again, you got to pick your topics, what you think are going to be great. Yeah, right there. By the way, is the Frank Lloyd Wright House, the Governor Martin House. So we've had, you know, all of these. In a great class on birding, because my husband and I are birders. So I asked our bird guide, I said, would you do something? So we did a really nice one on warblers, and we got you know, a pretty cool house there of birders. So,
Shakespeare.
yeah, Shakespeare is a big one. We're doing Love and Lust in Shakespeare's sonnets. So, as I said, find things all over the point. I have been enlisted on Point with Tom Ashbrook, which is on NPR. You could probably just Google it in, but he always has extremely current topics and other topics too. So I borrow the topics from there and find someone who's good at that. So we've tried to do series of classes, and we found that the attrition rate was high. So we've stuck with the 1 hour, one-shot deal format. Because some instructors say, I'd like to do a 4-week thing on this. And I say, no, do 4 standalone classes. So if you're going to do something on, you know, early American history, do one on, you know, Thomas Paine, and do one on, you know, the beginnings of the American Revolution, and do one on the Constitution. So, because seniors are busy, you know, they have medical appointments, they're going golfing, they're watching grandchildren, so it's hard for them to schedule sometimes. Because I know one of the other presenters said that they had the full college classes being held at the senior center. So I'm going to bring back and see if we could do that. But these 1 hours seem to work well. We have done a couple field trips. We got buses, and we went to the Birchfield Penny Art Society. Charles Birchfield is a local artist, so we went to that. We do have some evening classes. Again, when we pick sites, we have to pick sites that are going to be great supporters and also have the right facility. We've had the most difficult sites to find are the ones in the city of Buffalo, because the parking is very difficult, and the sites tend to be older and, you know, not as comfortable. So we actually are in a residence now. We're in a senior apartment, a subsidized senior apartment. They have a great housing manager downstairs. She gets people very excited about the classes, and that's working well for us. So the location is very important. We want to make sure that it's easy to get to, that there's good parking, good safe parking, a good classroom space, that the site handles registration for us, that they offer the honorarium. So that is the expense for the site, a $25 honorarium. But you wouldn't have to do a $25 honorarium. You could do something else. Maybe some organization has donated gift cards for you. You could give a gift card. But I think it's important to give something. You really should have at least a projector and screen, if not a laptop. And you need that person. You need that central contact person who believes in lifelong learning. So these were the sites we just added to. We added one more suburban site, and we added a rural site. But the most difficult part, I think, of doing a program like this, if you do it at many sites like that, is just the logistics of scheduling all the classes at all the different centers. But if you've got a group of centers together from your county, because some instructors live close to the southern end of the county, some to the northern end of the county, so then they can pick which one is most convenient for them. So now you've got everything already, but you want to let people know about it. So you have to publicize it, certainly in your newsletter, certainly on your website. Email blast, once you build up your emails, then you can just put it out. We have about 1,000 people now who get our emails about University Express, plus our 1,000 RSVP volunteers. And again, if you offer it, they'll come, but they have to be able to find out about it. They have to have a very user-friendly schedule, so it's easy for them to see what you're offering. And if you have a person at the site who's excited about it. And writing the title is important, so don't just call it, the War of Antietam. Call it something else, the Civil War's bloodiest battle or something. And again, places you can advertise. The senior centers, every senior center that's in our consortium has to have the full schedule, not just the ones at their site, but all of them. Libraries, the Department of Senior Services website. Our county actually sends out a press release. We're going to have a TV interview in a couple weeks at City Hall, because we have a class on Buffalo City Hall, which is a beautiful Art Deco building. So that instructor is going to be interviewed. Events where there are a lot of people over 60. So if you have like an expo where a lot of seniors come, we have this Broadway market, which is an old Polish market, and it's kind of a tradition of Buffalo to go get your pierogi and things at the Broadway market, and a lot of seniors come, so we gave it out there. Retired teachers, they have a newsletter, and they've been very nice about putting our stuff in there. Alumni websites, RSVP volunteer sites, and of course your emailing list. And then the evaluations where you ask for feedback, because you want to know, did that teacher go over? Did that topic go over? What do we change? Was it too cold in the room? Did you not hear? Some topics, some instructors are a big smash. People want them back. People love them. And sometimes not so much. And that's kind of delicate when you have a teacher that just isn't working and you don't want them back, but they want to come back. So that's a delicate conversation to have. So these are just things that people wrote on their evaluations. Brilliant, he used no notes, he made history come alive. I think that was the security guard during the Civil War. We have one instructor, works for International, Amnesty International. She's a human rights attorney, and she's done things for us on drones. She's done things on Guantanamo. She just did something on, counterterrorism. And this is her field. And it's nice because she says that she'll only teach for us. She said that she knows our audiences, although they may disagree, they'll be very respectful and also well informed. And this was actually from one of our instructors, and he was a retired professor, but he just thought, teaching a group of people over 55 was just such a rewarding experience. So then, of course, we want to bring the people back all the time, and we want to bring them back to the center. So it's the first time they ever came into your center. This is a great opportunity for you to get them on your emailing list and let them know about all the events, because maybe they had that image that, a senior center is a boring place. But now you have their email or you have their mailing address, send them your calendar, send them emails like, we're having this disco party or whatever coming up. And because University Express was started as a recruitment vehicle, we actually were awarded innovative best practice for volunteer recruitment. So this is our magnet, that's what I call it. This is our carrot. University Express is our magnet to draw people 55 and over because they're very interested in lifelong learning. So we don't just start out with telling them, we want you to volunteer. It's like, no, if you love University Express, I just tell them, if we have a topic, like say we have a topic on invasive species, I tell the audience, if you're concerned about the environment and you love nature, maybe you'd like to volunteer at TIFF Nature Preserve or Rhinestein Nature Preserve, where you can do more of this and meet other people who are equally concerned about the environment. So then comes the money question. As I said, this is a very cost-effective program. It wasn't costing us anything other than my time to find the instructors, put together the schedule, and we made copies in the copy room, and then the sites gave the honorarium. But if you want to take it up to that next step and get it where you have, a very professional thing, we were lucky. We went to Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now this was after we had done this for 9 years, and we could show them. We have 1,500 people on our mailing list and another, 700 on our emailing list. And this is why it would be great for Blue Cross to connect, because the health insurers aren't really allowed to publicize their stuff in the senior centers anymore because of regulations. But this was a way for them to show, Blue Cross is committed to healthy aging, both mentally and physically. So Blue Cross said yes. They designed the brochure. They give us $10,000 a year towards this program. And the only thing we have to say is they're our only health insurer on the cover, and that we will also ask some of their Blue Cross staff to be our presenters. They are not there. They're not allowed to sell Blue Cross. But we, for example, have one of their dietitians coming to talk about the saturated fats controversy, whether saturated fats really do have any relationship to heart health. We've had, other speakers do depression and, other types of things like that. And then last year, Excelsior Orthopedics emailed us and said, would you consider having an additional sponsor? And we also would like our surgeons to present for you. Oh, okay, that works. So they also gave us $10,000 a year, and then they just asked that we make time for their surgeons to present classes, which is nice for our audiences to have a surgeon right there, because so many of them are contemplating hip surgery or knee surgery, so it's a nice chance for them to better understand the disease process, because I tell them you're not there to sell your procedure, you're there to explain to them what's
Do you
going
have
on.
an agreed upon?
We do, we have
Arrangement on how many classes?
Oh, how many places? Not really. No. We kind of just worked that out. He gives me what doctors want to teach that semester, and we put it out. And I think if he's happy with the number, then if he's not gonna let me know. But it was nice because Excelsior then put it out in all their physicians' offices and to all their patients over 55. So, what did it cost you? Printing and postage for your hard copy schedules, and if you do snail mail of that, time and space. The senior centers are donating the space. I kind of donate my time. I do this, I call this my hobby job. This is what I do after I do RSVP. And then the honorarium, which, for a speaker of the caliber that we get, $25 is very inexpensive. And our instructors do it because they love to. And the advertising, we have to pay for any advertising. And again, our centers right now have said we want these free. They've said that if there's going to be money involved, that they'd rather take a chunk of the money and put it into a pot to pay for things. They don't want to charge people, $2 a class. They said it's just easier for them at this point to do it this way. So the arguments for charging is that when someone calls up to register, they're more likely to show up. Maybe people will put more value on the course if they have to pay, and it would cover the costs of any administrative costs and appreciation gifts. The arguments against are that if someone is low income, it could present a barrier, and also the instructors are volunteers, so I think it might make it more difficult to recruit volunteers if they're thinking the participants have to pay for it. When I tell them it's free to the seniors, I think it's a little easier. So when I look for, who might consider helping with this, health insurers. So it's people who are interested in reaching out to people over 55. So health insurers, medical groups, alumni offices. I haven't had great luck, unfortunately, with the universities at this point in terms of becoming a partner, and I'm not really sure why. In our area, and maybe in your area, the demographic 18 to 25 is drying up. So the colleges are having some financial problems. So I've written to them, I've met with them saying, I have a whole demographic 55 and over that really wants to learn. That maybe there's some partnership we can do here, but they're not ready to do that. The alumni offices put it on their website at this point. But perhaps real estate agents who are looking, to sell retirement communities or things like that might be interested in putting their stamp on it. Certainly retirement communities. Canterbury Woods is one of the cruise ship retirement communities, so they're one of our sites, and they support us. So if we had 3 wishes, the first would be an academic partner. I would love to have the university and other colleges say this is part of what we do. We don't really have continuing education at the college level for people over 55 in our community. They more do vocational training kinds of things, not personal enrichment. So I wish that the university, the colleges would say that the group 55 and over are important, they're part of our mission too, not just alums to give money once a year. Service learning. Before I came to RSVP, I was the service learning collaborative or coordinator at Niagara University. Service learning is where you take a class and then you do service related to it. So like I said, say that someone took a class on invasive species and then they went out and they removed knotweed or phragmites or some other invasive species, and then they came back again to talk about that experience. So I think this would be a feeder for volunteers because it would be more informed volunteers. Or when we did the class on the Common Core, we also have volunteers to the Buffalo Public Schools, which are a very poor school, high needs. A class on the Common Core could attract people who then might be interested in going to help those kids struggling with the Common Core standards. And then they could come back again and talk about their experiences and how they related to the Common Core. And you always worry about sustainability. Cross your fingers and you hope that, your sponsors will stay forever, but you always have to kind of figure, you never know. So, just like this quote, the purpose of learning is growth, and our minds, unlike our bodies, can continue growing as we continue to live. So, when we started this program, I cannot tell you how many times the seniors have said, I've been looking for something like this, and I haven't been able to find it. And then they get mad and say, how come I didn't know about this 8 years ago? Look at all the classes I missed out on. But if there's a hunger for this kind of learning, because it's fun, in the brain, there's only so many crossword puzzles you can do, in books, but I know that the Alzheimer's Association has found that cognitive health is best not only when you learn new things, but when you learn them in a social setting. So you're questioning, you're challenging, you're discussing. And I think we need more of these kind of things for older adults. And unfortunately, the classes I found that are the least well attended are things on health. Not so much the hips and things like that, but diabetes. I thought I ran this great instructor. She was going to do diabetes, and they hardly had anybody sign up. But I don't know if that's because they've had diabetes all over the place, But like I said, I do Buffalo Mafia. Ooh, people want to learn. So people want to learn fun things, but they want to learn challenging things too. And don't underestimate your audience, because when we did DNA, when we did stem cells, we had people in there who really knew their stuff and really asked great questions. We had a PhD in biochemistry at the thing, I highly advise you, if you have access to college, high school, some of my best instructors are high school instructors who were great in the 12th grade and they're great in the senior center. So even if you don't have a college run, bring them in because learning is I think, a critical part of good, healthy aging.